It's 4:45 p.m. and we're gonna learn some Pathfinder 2E. We're gonna prep some Dungeons and Dragons later, but we're gonna learn some Pathfinder 2E right now. I got about 45 minutes, so maybe we can get through two skills, Occultism and Performance, before we run out of time. I get the feeling that Occultism is going to go pretty quick because this will be the third out of four magic skills. Hey, what's up, Sylvie? And we're going to go ahead and look at those. And then I got to go make some dinner. And then I'll be back to prep some Curse of Strahd tonight. And then I'll be back after that to run some Curse of Strahd tonight. So I'm going to be on and off of the stream all night. So, Occultism is an intelligence-based skill. You know a great deal about ancient philosophies, esoteric lore, obscure mysticism, and supernatural creatures. Even if you're untrained in occultism, you can use it to recall knowledge. Recall knowledge about ancient mysteries, obscure philosophies, creatures of occult significance, like aberrations, spirits, and oozes, and the positive energy, negative energy, shadow, astral, and ethereal planes. The most fascinating thing about the occultism skill that I have seen is that occult magic is actually what bards use. Bards actually use occult magic. And I thought that that was very weird. Also, a lot of creatures that I would have assumed would have been covered by another skill, like in 5th edition, Hag is a Fae, and a Hag would be covered under nature, actually falls under the occultism skill. So it's very interesting to me. And I don't know. I think it's kind of cool. All right, so that's all you can do untrained. And then trained, you can decipher writing, which we've learned about previously. Identify magic, which we've learned about previously. Learn a spell, which we've learned about previously. And tap a ley line, which we've learned about previously. There are item bonuses for occultism. Not a lot. Not a lot of items helping you with occultism. And it seems like even less than for nature. And then there are some related feats. And like that's it. Now we could relearn decipher writing, identify magic, learn a spell, and tap ley line, but we already covered that twice. Once in or three times, I believe. Once in general skills, once in arcana, once in nature. So I think we've got the general idea. If you discover ancient text or spell scrolls or spell books or encoded stuff that is about the occult, you can use occultism to decipher that writing. When you are identifying magical items, you are more likely to identify things that are associated with the occult. When you are learning spells, which everyone has to do, not just wizards, everyone in Pathfinder 2E has to learn spells if you want access to the good stuff. So you would use this occult skill to do that. It is fair to say that if you are a spellcaster of any means, you want to be proficient in the skill related to your magic. That kind of makes sense. It kind of makes sense. And then you also, at some places in the world, may encounter ley lines, which are basically deposits of powerful magic. If you've played Final Fantasy VII, all the materia and like stuff inside the planet, the lifeblood of the planet, all that. Yeah, it's just kind of like interweaving across like all of Galaron. I think the world is called Galarion. And your DM might say, yeah, this particular battle takes place on a ley line, so the spellcasters could just tap in and juice up. It sounds like a really good mechanic for like a final boss fight to make sure that your party can stay strong for the fight. All right. Well, now that we did a quick review of all the things that occultism can do as a magic skill and as a knowledge skill, I am curious what sort of feat support there is. I love all the skill feats in this game. I think some of them are hyper specialized. Last night I stayed up very late after our Monster Hunter game was over, and I built another character based on my dog, Scribbles, who is a pug. There is a race of pug humanoids in Pathfinder 2 called Shuni. So I built a Shuni, and Rogue just gets every skill. Like, I think at level 1 she had all but 2 skills, and then I went with all these skill feats that were related to mugging people. So like you get to like pick their pocket at the same time that you're stabbing them, and I thought that was fantastic. But it was kind of pointed out to me when I was talking about it to some people today that in a dungeon there's just nothing to steal from for the most part, right? Like it would be great for like a city campaign, but you know, does the troll really have anything to steal? Does like gelatinous cube? Well, I guess gelatinous cube might have something to steal. Anyways, some of the feats are so thematic and cool and flavorful, but only in certain instances, and then some of the feats are just good all over the place. But I really do like the variety of skills that you could get. It really helps every character kind of stand out on their own, which is so cool. All right, so the first one up is Crystal Healing, which is an uncommon, meaning you need your GM's permission to get it. It is a level 1 feat from the Dark Archive. It is a general healing manipulate skill for occultism. You know how to stimulate a body's natural healing abilities through the application of resonant crystals. Doing so requires you to use at least 2 semi-precious stones with a total value of 5 gold pieces or more in place of your healer's tools, which allows you to attempt to treat disease or treat poison using occultism rather than medicine. Examples and prices of semi-precious stones can be found under gems. If you're an expert in occultism and you use gems whose total value equals or exceeds 50 gold, you gain a +1 item bonus on your occultism check. And if you're a master and the gem's value equals or exceeds 700, you get a +2 bonus. And if you are legendary at occultism and the gem's value equals or exceeds 15,000 gold, your item bonus increases to +3. So crystal healing is a real thing. You know what? I think I would ask my DM if I could have this feat, because I think that is awesome. Alright, that's a cool one. So next up is Deceptive Worship. Deceptive Worship is a level 1 general skill feat for occultism from the Advanced Player's Guide. Members of your cult frequently pass themselves off as worshippers of other religions. You can use occultism instead of deception to impersonate a typical worshipper of another faith, or to lie specifically to claim you are a member of the faith you are impersonating. You still need to use the deception skill to impersonate a specific member or worshiper, or to perform other deceptive actions, such as attempting to lie about any other matter. Now, this is the kind of hyper-specialized weirdness that I was talking about. Maybe you wanted to make like a chaotic evil cultist, but you're trying to pass for like a goodly cleric of a good god. Like, here you go. Just don't let anybody peek at your character sheet, I guess. This is the kind of bullshit shenanigans that we got up to when I was a kid playing 2nd edition D&D. Where part of the fun sometimes was making a character and trying to see how long the character's true identity could go unnoticed. Kishara did this in our Skull and Shackles game, actually, where she hid her gender, her age, and her class from the rest of the party for about, 20 sessions or something like that. It was a long time. Sometimes it can be a lot of fun, and I guess here's some mechanical support for that as well. So, interesting. Oddity Identification. Oddity Identification is a level 1 general skill feat with occultism. You have a sense for spells that twist minds or reveal secrets. You gain a +2 circumstance bonus to occultism checks to identify magic with the mental, possession, prediction, or scrying traits. All right, +2 is a pretty beefy bonus for Pathfinder 2e, so they're really feeling generous right there. When I first started reading Pathfinder stuff, I was like, a +1 bonus? That's trash. That's garbage. Now that I am getting into fights where it feels like every hit is going to critically hit and kill me, I appreciate every +1 and -1 that is helping me stay alive. It did not take long at all for me to learn how valuable a simple +1 bonus could actually be. Anyways, next up is Quick Identification. This is another knowledge skill. Feat, it is level 1 general skill for any of the magic knowledge skills. You can identify magic swiftly. It takes only 1 minute when using identify magic. Instead of 10 minutes if you're a master, it takes 1 human centipede, and if you are legendary, it takes a single pack-a-man. All right. Read psychometric resonance. Now that sounds like an occultism skill. Let's see what we got. This is an uncommon, meaning you need your GM's permission. Feat 1, concentrate, divination, emotion, exploration, general, mental, occult, skill feat for occultism from the Dark Archives. Now, it has been pointed out to me in the comments of other videos that we've done that uncommon and rare does not necessarily mean you need your GM's permission. Sometimes it means that they are tied specifically to a campaign or a background from a campaign, or they are given as rewards in a campaign. So, to me, that just means that you have to have the GM's permission because that's the person who decided to run that adventure. But there is a slight difference there. With a touch, you can read the psychic impressions left on objects by their previous owners. This exploration activity functions similar to detect magic in that you move at half your travel speed or slower while looking for psychometric resonance. You must brush your bare hands over any objects you pass while you do this. This detects objects with significant emotional resonance attached to them, such as the joy from a child's beloved teddy bear, the sorrow from a widower's wedding ring, or the fear from a victim's murder weapon. Just things you find on the side of the road. If you're looking for a particular type of emotional resonance, you can choose to ignore other emotions. If you find an item with that resonance, you can explore that resonance with the following action. This action is called Psychometric Assessment. It is a concentration, divination, emotion, exploration, mental, occult sub-action. The requirement is that your bare hands are touching an object in which you detected psychometric resonance. Now, the use of the letter S here on hands would make a Pathfinder kid think that I guess you need 2 hands to use this ability. Well, I'm here to tell you, if I was the TM, I would allow you to use whatever limb or mandible or whatever it is that you use for touching things. You do not have to just use your hands. Effect. You spend 1 minute concentrating on the object to get a vision of the face of the person who imbued the item with such emotion in the first place. If the associated emotion is painfully negative, you might take 1d6 psychic damage as determined by the GM. That is a very interesting and very flavorful skill feat. Oh my goodness. That sounds like a lot of fun. I wonder what this Dark Archive is. Is it just like a book of cool abilities or something? Let's see. There's a product link here. Yeah. It's just like a book of edgelord stuff. Dark Archive, Book of Edgelord things. That's pretty cool. All right. So we'll close these out. And what do we got next? Recognize spell, which we've already covered a number of times. This is a level 1 general secret skill feat for magic knowledge skills from the core rulebook. It gives you a reaction called Recognize Spell, the trigger of which is a creature within line of sight casts a spell that you don't have prepared or in your spell repertoire, or a trap or similar object casts such a spell. You must be aware of the casting. If you are trained in the appropriate skill, et cetera, et cetera. You figure out what the spell is. If you get a critical success, you will get a bonus on your saving throw or your armor class against it. Uh, if you succeed, you just identify what the spell is. So right before you get hit by the lightning bolt, you tell everyone, that's a lightning bolt. Yep. Failure, you fail to recognize the spell. And critical failure, you misidentify it. So you're like, don't worry, they're healing us. And then you get hit with the lightning bolt. Good times. All right. Then we've got reveal true name, which we're not going to mess around with. I found out that the true name content was all like opt-in, optional rule stuff, and there's already enough rules, so we're not going to worry about true name stuff. Root magic. All right. This is a level 1 general skill feat for occultism from the Advanced Player's Guide. Your talismans ward against foul magic. During your daily preparations, you can assemble a small pouch with bits of herbs, hair, sacred oil, and other ritual ingredients, which you give to one ally. The first time that day the ally attempts a saving throw against a spell or haunt, they gain a +1 circumstance bonus to the roll. This bonus increases to +2 if you're an expert in occultism, or +3 if you're legendary. So you're taking an entire skill feat so that one person once per day can have a bonus to one saving throw against a spell or haunt. I think if you are adventuring, there is a good chance that you will be encountering one of those things. So I don't think it's like the worst thing ever. But it doesn't look like it branches into anything else either. So it definitely feels like something that I would probably not bother taking unless I really thought it'd be cool for my character. All right, next up we've got Schooled in Secrets. All right, this is a level 1 general skill feat for occultism from the Advanced Player's Guide. You notice the signs and symbols that members of mystery cults and other secret societies use to declare their affiliation to fellow members. You can use occultism in place of diplomacy to gather information about such groups. If you belong to a secret cult, lodge, sect, or similar organization, you automatically recognize members of your group unless they are specifically attempting to conceal their presence from you. That's kind of cool. It feels, again, pretty situational, but pretty neat. Then we've got Trick Magic Item. This has shown up a few times already. This is a level 1 general manipulation skill feat for the magic knowledge skills from the core rulebook. And essentially, you trick a magical item into letting you use it, even if you aren't normally able to use it. On a success for the rest of the current turn, only a turn, you can spend actions to activate the magical item. On a failure, you can't use it. And on a critical failure, a cooldown is set, and you can't mess with the item until your next day's daily preparations. All right. Then we've got Assured Identification, another magic knowledge skill. This is a level 2 general skill for magic knowledge skills from the Advanced Player's Handbook. It basically keeps you from misidentifying magical items, and also basically tells you if an item is cursed or not, because your GM will just tell you that you can't figure out how to identify it, so you're pretty sure that it's cursed, maybe. I don't know. Or you just weren't able to identify it. But it helps you out. It helps you out. So that's actually a pretty useful one if you are the identifying person in the party. Keeping in mind that you can't just carry around an 100 GP pearl and just magically know what everything does automatically with no mystery whatsoever. Even the most basic bitch potion that we have found in Pathfinder, we have to identify it or we have no idea what it does. The people in this world do not believe in labeling anything. And I guess if they do label it, they might have labeled it wrong to trick you. So who knows for sure. Alright, then we've got Aura Sight. Aura Sight is actually pretty cool. This is a level 2 uncommon concentrate exploration general secret skill feat for occultism from the Dark Archive, but you can only do it once per hour. You've learned how to read the natural auras of other living creatures. To do this, you must focus on a single living target without blinking for 1 minute. You can do this while performing some other minor tasks, such as making conversation to distract from your intentions, but you can't blink or otherwise lose your concentration. You can then perceive any or all of the following information: the target's current apparent attitude towards you, friendly, indifferent, and so on. I think you maybe know if they were hostile, but who knows for sure. The target's current apparent emotional state. A general assessment of the target's physical health, such as what conditions or afflictions it has. You might need to succeed on an occultism check against the affliction or conditions DC to detect the presence of a specifically hidden or subtle condition or affliction. In addition, the GM rolls a secret occultism check for you against the target's deception DC. If your result equals your target's, you can identify if they're being deceptive to you in some way, such as expressing a false attitude towards you or faking their emotional state. This doesn't allow you to automatically identify the exact nature of the deception, only to tell the outward appearance is false. So that's kind of cool. It's like another, like, basically psychic ability disguised as a skill feat. Automatic writing. This is a level 2 uncommon, concentrate, exploration, general, manipulate skill. And it is from the Dark Archives. And you may use it once per day. And you must be proficient in occultism. When confronted with the unknown, you can receive knowledge beyond your own experience via written messages delivered by your hand. You spend 10 minutes seated while holding a writing utensil, using it to make small circular motions as you open your mind to the forces around you. You receive information as your hand writes on its own, guided by the spirits. At the end of these 10 minutes, recall knowledge with any lore skill in which you are not trained, using your occultism modifier instead of your modifier with that skill. The strain of the spirit channeling leaves you stupefied for the next 10 minutes. I'll be honest, that's a pretty cool ability, because lore basically represents everything that there is to know and do in the world, which is why the Bard muse that gives you access to all lore in the game is so powerful. That's pretty neat, if you didn't have a Bard around. Alright, then we've got Magical Shorthand, which is a repeat. It is a level 2 general skill feat for the magic skills from the core rulebook, and you just learn spells faster than you would normally. That's all there is. You just learn spells faster. Done. Crichton's Cognitive Crossover. This is another repeat, but damn, is it a good one. It is a level 4 uncommon general skill from the Pathfinder Society Guide, and it unlocks a reaction ability. The trigger of which is that you have chosen 2 skills when you got this feat, and you failed a check using one of the skills. You can then use the other skill to try and pass the check. I just think that is really neat. I think that's a very cool skill. I don't know what you have to do to unlock this skill. I don't know if you have to join. It says access, you have to be a member of the Pathfinder Society. Well, there you go. Let's see. Then we've got Bizarre Magic. Now, Bizarre Magic is a level 7 general skill that requires mastery of occultism from the core rulebook. You can draw upon strange variations in your spellcasting, whether or not you can cast occult spells. The DC to recognize spells you cast and identify magic you use is increased by 5. Okay. I guess that's good if you get tired of being counterspelled all the time. So that's pretty neat. And I would assume that, like, some nerd wizard, they probably, like, have all the magic skills, so they probably go into there. It's not super easy to get mastery in a bunch of skills, though, so I don't know. Next up, we've got Disturbing Knowledge. Alright, Disturbing Knowledge is a level 7 feat that is Emotion, Fear, General Mental skill. It requires mastery of the occult, and it is from the Advanced Player's guide. It unlocks a 2 Pac-Man action. You utter a litany of dreadful names, prophecies, and descriptions of realms beyond mortal comprehension. I almost said the far realms. Whoops. Drawn from your study of forbidden tomes and scrolls. Even those who don't understand your language are unsettled by these dire secrets. Attempt an occultism check and compare the result to the will DC of an enemy within 30 feet, or to the will DCs of any number of enemies within 30 feet if you are legendary. Those creatures are temporarily immune for 24 hours, so it's got a 24-hour cooldown. If you critically succeed, everybody gets confused for 1 round and frightened for 1 round. Confused is a pretty serious status effect. Frightened is a fantastic status effect. Success, the target becomes frightened 1. Failure, the target is unaffected. And critical failure, you get overly caught up in your own words and spook yourself. You take frightened 1. That's lovely. You go to tell a scary story and you scare yourself. And then finally we got quick recognition. This is a level 7 general skill feat requiring mastery in one of the magic skills and the recognize spell feat. Now you recognize spells so fast, just so fast. In fact, so fast it's a free action once per round, which again, if you're into counterspelling, I guess you got to take that. All right, that finishes us up for the occult skill. And I think occultism's pretty cool. I like that there's a spooky edgelord skill. I know there's a lot of edgelords out there. They wanna have them spooky skills. I don't gotta cook dinner for another 19 minutes. Do you think that we could finish performance in 19 minutes? Doesn't look too complicated. Let's see. We already know about. What about defeats? What do we got for defeats here? Is it 19 minutes worth of feats? Ooh, no, there's barely anything. All right, let's do it. Okay. Performance is a charisma-based feat. You are skilled at a form of performance, using your talents to impress a crowd or make a living. I guess there are no untrained performance skills. They don't got time for any untrained performance in this world. Maybe? Question mark? It doesn't say there's any. Oh wait, they're down here. Okay. So there is a trained action called Earn Income, which we already covered under General Skills. And then Basic Competence. Some performances require to be more than just charismatic, and if you don't meet the demands of the art form or the audience, the GM might apply a penalty based on the relevant ability score. Imagine that. For example, if you're dancing and you have a negative dex modifier, you might take a penalty to your attempt at dancing. Because, you know, charisma can't just carry you through every single thing that happens. 5th edition character. Likewise, if you are orating and have a negative intelligence modifier, you might have to hope your raw charisma can overcome the penalties from your intellectual shortcomings. American politician. Or ask someone to help you write your speeches. Amazing. Performance traits. When you use an action that utilizes the performance skill, it gains 1 or more traits relevant to the type of performance. The GM might change these depending on the circumstances, but most common performance-based traits are listed below. If you are acting or performing comedy, it is auditory, linguistic, and visual. If you are dancing, it is movement and visual. If you are playing an instrument, it is auditory and manipulate. And if you are orating or singing, it is auditory and linguistic. There are some items that might help you. A lot more items than the last couple of skills we looked at. Holy crap. Alright. Maybe that's because all the magical instruments are in here. That's probably it. There are some feats we're going to look at, but let's check out this performance untrained action. For a single Pac-Man, you can perform. It is a concentrate action. When making a brief performance, 1 song, a quick dance, or a few jokes, you use the perform action. This action is most useful when you want to prove your capability or impress someone quickly, or if you're a bard. You actually have to make performance checks and performance actions to trigger many of your abilities, which is kind of cool. Performing rarely has an impact on its own, but it might influence the DCs of subsequent diplomacy checks against the observers or even change their attitudes if the DM sees fit. Critical success, your performance impresses the observers and they're likely to share stories of your ability. Success, you prove yourself and observers appreciate the quality of your performance. Failure, your performance falls flat. And critical failure, you demonstrate only incompetence. Hmm. All right. Now, something that my friend asked me the other day is, what does the sample tasks mean? Does that mean that they have to be an expert in this skill to perform for merchants or minor nobles? Do they have to be legendary to put on a performance for major royalty or otherworldly beings? And I thought that that was actually a pretty normal thing to get confused about, because they're telling you that this skill is untrained, but then they're giving you tasks down here and they have trained, expert, master, legendary. My understanding is an untrained action is an untrained action forever and ever. Amen. The end. But down here, it's referencing the average difficulty that is explained in the skills section of the core rulebook. So an untrained skill is generally pretty easy, like a 5 or a 10, and then a trained skill would be like a 15-ish, and then you got like your 20, your 25, your 40, I think is what legendary is at. So they ramp up the DCs. Could an untrained person make a legendary performance successful? Maybe. But without that huge bonus from legendary proficiency, it's going to be a hard sell. And I think that's all that that means when it's listed under an untrained action. All right, and that's all you could do with performance. So let's go ahead and check out the performance feats real quick. All right, first up is Fascinating Performance. So, Fascinating Performance says it is a level 1 general skill feat for performance from the core rulebook. When you perform, compare your result to the will DC of one observer. If you succeed, the target is fascinated by you for 1 round. If the observer is in a situation that demands immediate attention, such as combat, you must critically succeed to fascinate it, and the perform action gains the incapacitation trait. You must choose which creature you're trying to fascinate before you roll your check, and the target is then temporarily immune for 1 hour, aka a cooldown is applied. If you're an expert in performance, I love the cooldowns, by the way. I fucking love how stuff has cooldowns on it. If you're an expert in performance, you can fascinate up to 4 observers. A master can fascinate up to 10, and if you're legendary, you can fascinate any number of observers at the same time. So if you're in a stadium and you're just surrounded by 100,000 people, you can fascinate them all, baby. What is fascination? Incapacitate, that sounds really good. So fascinate is not actually that good, it turns out. Fascinate, basically, they are distracted by you, and they have penalties to I think seek actions and things like that. But they can still beat the shit out of you and your friends, even if you have fascinated them. This is not like a super strong crowd control. This fascinate status is really just for causing a distraction, essentially. All right. But it could be useful. It could be useful. There's so many different combinations of abilities and status effects that you could do. All right, next up is Impressive Performance. All right, so Impressive Performance is a level 1 general skill feat for performance from the core rulebook. Your performances inspire admiration and win you fans. You can make an impression, which is a general action, using performance instead of diplomacy. Now, I think a lot of characters that have that are kind of leaning in that direction of being the party face, they probably are like a rogue or a bard. They got a lot of skills. But a good example of this would be Reset from Odyssey of the Dragonlords. Reset has performance dance. So we allow Reset to use dexterity for performance checks because Reset's a little rough around the edges, you know what I'm saying? But she's a good dancer. So for a character like that that doesn't have a lot of skills to spread around, this could be very useful because this would allow them a bit more functionality out of a single skill if they don't have the ability to go and train up all these other skills and focus on these other skills. So I really like feats like this that give versatility to builds that maybe don't have a lot of skill variety. It still gives them some more options. And they're very specific options, like making an impression, but it still gives them that route to do other things. And I think that's really cool. All right. Virtuosic Performer. This is a level 1 general skill feat for performance from the core rulebook. You have exceptional talent with one type of performance. You gain a +1 circumstance bonus when making a certain type of performance. If you are a master in performance, this increases to +2. Select one of the following specialties and apply the bonus when attempting performance checks of that type. It is unclear whether the specialty, if it's unclear whether the specialty applies, the GM decides. This was highly recommended for Bard when I was building the Bard last night, because they have to make performance checks to trigger their abilities. And so having that +1 bonus, you're that much closer to getting a critical success. And then it scales automatically to +2, which is really nice. And then it leads to Legendary Performer, which just makes things even better. All right. Then we've got Distracting Performance, which is different than Fascinating Performance. But yet, we just said that Fascinating was kind of like Distracting, so I'm curious what Distracting Performance is like. This is a level 2 general skill feat for performance from the Advanced Player's Guide. Your performances are especially distracting, allowing allies to sneak away with ease. When you aid an ally who is trying to create a diversion, instead of the usual effects of aid, you can roll a performance check and use that result to determine the outcome of the diversion instead of the ally rolling a deception check. Now, for all you 5th edition kids out there, you're probably like, why is there a feat for this? Like, Xanathar says that we could use any ability for any skill if it makes sense. And Xanathar said the DM is encouraged to come up with situations like this. Yes. All of that is true. And if you have a good DM, like a skilled dungeon master in 5th edition, they are already doing this kind of stuff for you already. But the appeal here in Pathfinder is that there are rules and mechanics in place so that you can just build a character or build a team the way you want, and then the DM doesn't have to decide if you can do it. The rules say that you could do it. And again, a lot of people take a lot of comfort in rules. It's a rules-heavy system. That's the big difference there. Obviously, in 5th edition D&D, if someone was like, can I put on a performance to distract them so that everyone can sneak by? I would be like, absolutely, what a great idea. Roll your performance check. Everyone else give me a stealth check. Here into Pathfinder land, there's a lot more rules. And I don't know how I feel about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, if somebody bothered to take this feat, I would probably lower the involved DCs of everything involved because they bothered to take this feat. I would let everyone do this without the feat, but then if somebody took this feat, I would be like, sweet, yeah, I'm going to actually lower the DC of this challenge by 5 because you bothered to take a feat for this bullshit. That's kind of how I'm leaning on these very specialized, like, combo feats, because I feel like this sort of thing should just be allowed raw, and my understanding is that that is the case. They kind of say that a lot in the Game Master's Guide, that, encourage players to do stuff, lean into their ideas. So my stance on feats like this, don't start to look at these feats and think, oh, if I don't have this feat, I can't do this thing. Look at it as, if I have this feat, or if my players have this feat, I'll make it even easier for them to do because they're specialized in that particular thing. So that's kind of my take on that. sorry to go off on a tangent there, but I've been thinking about that transition from 5th edition Dungeon Master to Pathfinder 2e Game Master, and I've started kind of asking myself, like, how would I handle this as a DM? What would I do if I was GMing this? So yeah. Juggling, obviously a feat that we all need. This is a level 2 uncommon concentrate general manipulation skill from the Extinction Curse adventure path. It requires a 16 dexterity and training in performance. So you're not just everybody's going to be juggling, all right? If you thought that you could just juggle, get the fuck out of here. You can juggle items and still use your hands between tosses. So this is advanced juggling. This ain't even regular juggling. You can use the juggle action in several ways. You can start to juggle with a single stored item, an item you were carrying, or an unattended item within your reach. The item must be of light or negligible bulk. You juggle the item until the end of your next turn, unless you use this feat again. Unless you use this feat against... Yeah, I think it's supposed to say again. Again next turn to continue juggling, see below. While you are juggling, you can use this action again to add another item to the juggle, which must meet all the same requirements. You can juggle a number of items equal to one more than the number of hands you're using to juggle. I had never thought that we needed game mechanics this detailed for juggling, but maybe it's leading us somewhere important. You can also use this action to continue juggling as long as you aren't fatigued, God forbid. When you do, you continue to juggle until the end of your next turn. If you do not continue juggling by the end of your next turn, you cease juggling and you drop all the items. Whoa, brother, hey, wait a minute. What if I got breakable stuff? How do I put the items down? Juggling, oh man, you become fatigued. Oh no, and you cannot continue juggling for more than 10 minutes each hour. Well, that seems very restrictive. As long as you're juggling fewer than your maximum number of items, you have a free hand. You can wield weapons you are juggling, but not shields or other items, as long as they can be wielded in one hand. For example, while you juggle a dagger in one hand and wield a shield in the other, you are wielding the dagger, but still have a free hand to cast... there we go. But still have a free hand to cast a spell with a material component. Juggling two or more weapons with one hand doesn't allow you to use feats that require two weapons each held in a different hand. But we never learn how you put the items down without dropping them. And I guess that will haunt me for the rest of my life, never knowing how to put down the items I started juggling. Okay. That's a whole thing, juggling. All right. Shrug. I don't know. Somebody really worked hard on those custom juggling rules, and I would be a bad GM if I didn't let somebody be a juggler if they wanted to. All right, there is a level 2 rare feat, general skill, from the Kingmaker's Companion Guide. You must be an expert in performance to perform the triumphant boast. You relate aloud an impressive tale of your triumph over a formidable foe. When you perform, choose a single target within 30 feet of you and compare the result of your performance check to that observer's will DC. If you're a so this costs 1 Pac-Man because it's modifying a performance check. In case you were like, what about the Pac-Man count? If you're a master in performance, you can choose up to 4 targets, and if you're legendary, any number of targets. If you succeed, any attempt made by you to demoralize those creatures within the next 24 hours will get a +1 circumstance bonus. If your charisma score is 20 or higher and you're a master in performance, the bonus increases to +2. Once a creature is boasted at in this manner, it becomes immune to further triumphant boast for 24 hours. I haven't read Kingmaker yet. I am not sure the benefit here of boasting at people and intimidating them. But I know that there's like some colonial themes of like, conquering a new area. So maybe this is just like rolling up into a village and mean mugging everybody. All right, the last one is Legendary Performer. And then we got to go make dinner. This is a level 15 general skill feat for legendary performance who also has virtuistic performer from the core rule book. Your fame has spread throughout the lands. NPCs who succeeded a DC 10 society check to recall knowledge have heard of you, and usually have an attitude towards you one step better than normal, depending on your reputation and the NPC's disposition. For instance, if you're well known for cruel and demanding behavior, creatures might be intimidated by you rather than be friendly towards you. When you earn income with performance, you attract higher level audiences than your location would allow, as audiences flock to see you. For instance, rulers and angels might. Angels apparently really love going to concerts. For instance, rulers and angels might travel to your small tower in the woods just to hear you perform. Typically, this increases the audiences available by 2 levels or more, determined by the GM. See also the downtime activity for performing for money. Wow. Okay. I'll be honest. After intimidation's level 15 feet, literally killing people, I'm a little disappointed. I kind of thought there'd be some kind of cool charm ability, or like someone just falls in love with you forever, or you just turn into like, I don't know, like the Justin Bieber of Pathfinder land, and you just have like people trying to get at you all the time. Alas, there was nothing like that. Oh well. All right. I gotta go make some dinner. The next time we meet, we will be discussing a religion and probably society, because I think religion will go relatively quick. We only have 5 skills left, which is pretty exciting. After those 5 skills, we are going to jump onto conditions, and we're going to talk about all the different conditions in the game and review all of those as we continue to make our way through the 640-page rulebook, or however big it is, of Pathfinder, and learning all about this very cool system. All right. I'll be back around 6:30 or so to stream some no more Pathfinder, to stream some Curse of Strahd prep for my Curse of Strahd game, and then I'll be running that at 8 o'clock. Hopefully I'll see you then. Otherwise, I'll see you next time.